All right, so for this specific photo, I had a vision going into the wedding day. I knew that I wanted to get a picture with a lot of contrast between my highlights and my shadows. I really wanted my subject to pop. I wanted to feel dramatic. I wanted to be in a darker space with a bright source of direct light. So from the very beginning of the wedding day, I started looking. I was on a mission to find the perfect spot. I knew that most likely it would take place indoors. Had 3 different locations. This specific wedding was shot in Maui, Hawaii, getting ready at a hotel, Catholic ceremony at a church. The reception was outdoors. So I had shot at the same reception venue before. I knew that the indoor space wouldn't provide this type of lighting I was looking for. So now it came down to either the hotel or the church. When I showed up to the hotel for the getting ready, I looked around and it had some gorgeous spots, which gave a lot of diversity to the gallery. We got tons of different looks and that was perfect, but it didn't have quite what I needed for this picture specifically. It came down to the church, and I knew that the church most likely would be a little bit more dim lit. So when I showed up and I noticed they had these big, along the side walls of the church, it had these big, tall, rectangular windows, and the sun was kind of at a high noon angle. By the time the ceremony was done, I knew that the sun was going to come in through one of these side walls and just cast a perfect beam of light for this photo that I wanted to do, which is this photo right here. So after the ceremony wrapped up and they were congratulated by the family, I brought my couple back in. I said, hey, there's something I've been wanting to try out. I always tell my couples, I'm like, look, I have an idea. This is something I've been kind of thinking about and I want to try it. Might work, might not, but if it does, it's going to be really cool. Do you want to try it? It'll be real quick. And they were super into it. So was the video team. The video team was down to try it out. So I went ahead and set it up. What I did was I found the window light the furthest away from the back wall, but still giving me enough space I could back up enough to get the framing that I wanted. I set up my bride in that patch of light, so it's direct sunlight coming through the window. There's no coloring to the glass. It's just clear glass. Just that direct sun shining in. I stood her so that she was covered head to toe in that light. And then I began to move around to find the angle that would suffice or give me the perspective I was really wanting. What I found was the closest I got to the wall, the more depth I got in this photo via this ledge that you see here, a little reflective ledge. Gives kind of like a direction, it directs your eye towards the subject. The other thing I liked about this close to the wall angle is that it hid my light source. So the closer I got to the wall, the less I could see that window, that light source, which made it a little more mysterious and even more exciting. Then I shot this in landscape style. I wanted to have a little bit more room. I framed her towards the left third a little more than the center because it felt like the light coming in through that window, the dynamic of the whole layout was nice. And you also have kind of a faint hint of these columns here that once again gives depth to the photo and direction. It kind of funnels you in to the bride here looking out the window. And then setting up for the lighting, I know that harsh light can be kind of intimidating, but one of the things that I do is I like to either, one of two, embrace the full light or embrace the shadows within and make it work. So there's one thing that I know would have been really unflattering, and that's if her face wasn't tilted up and it was just straight down, she would have had unflattering shadows under the nose, under the eyes. If she was turned towards me, the camera right here, and had her face to the side of the window, she would have had half her face in a dark shadow, because the shadows in direct light just become really harsh. So that's why I feel some people are intimidated by shooting in this type of light. But what I did to mitigate this is I had what I said is open up your body towards the window so the light falls in nicely. And then I want you to just, one way to communicate this is not only telling them to bring the chin up, but I also tell them, everybody's felt this before. You feel the warm sun and you want to soak in that light, and you just kind of take deep breath and open up, close your eyes and open up your face to the light and just kind of let that sun soak it all in. That kind of feeling is what I wanted to capture. And I know everybody's experienced that. You walk out, morning sun shining, just, oh, that feels so good. Ugh. So that's what I wanted to convey. So that communication made my point across, and she understood that, and I feel like that nails that expression I wanted. It's like a relaxed face, relaxed body, shoulders back, shoulders down. It was perfect. The other thing I did was I had to bring the flowers up because I wanted some of these shadows being casted on her dress from the leaves. I thought that was cool. I normally have the flowers down to show the detail in the dress, but here I wanted to have more of those shadows on the dress on the lower part. And I mean, overall, I feel like the most important things here was the posing and the framing. To 80% of what I shoot is with my 51.2 RF lens. And normally I'm between 2.0 or maybe a little bit lower. But for a photo like this, I brought it up to 3.5 because I wanted to make sure that not just her eyes were in focus. I wanted more to be in focus, more flowers, more dress. So 3.5 was a little more forgiving with my depth of field. And then I set up my shutter speed accordingly to how I wanted my exposure to be. I obviously, in hard light, it's easy to overexpose when there's a lot of white. So with a white dress and everything, I underexposed it a little bit and then brought it up in post. That's kind of what my settings were based off of. And ISO is at 320. You're looking at the settings right up here. ISO is at 320 because that's just kind of like the native spot where I begin my day. And unless I need to, I'll stay at 320. Unless I need to bring it back up and higher because I'm maxed out on my other settings and it's still too underexposed, I won't change it. I'll stay at 320. Performs nice. But yeah, I think that it was super exciting to kind of have this vision of this photo that I wanted to capture and tell my couples about it and then find the perfect spot and execute it all. I think that was I love when that happens, when everything falls into place and you get to see in person tangibly the photo that you envisioned. So yeah, if you have any questions about this one or anything else, or you want to see anything else, feel free to leave a comment or yeah, let me know.